Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez addressed the gas exporting countries forum taking place in Qatar, warning the U.S. seeks to appropriate the natural resources of the Bolivarian nation. In Honduras, National Electoral Council member Marlon Ochoa reported to the Public Prosecutor's Office plans to destabilize the country ahead of the upcoming November 30th election. And in the United States, the government announced new sanctions against the major Russian oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos. I'm from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We'll begin with the news. And we begin with the information. We were saying it at the beginning from Venezuela within the framework of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum taking place in Doha, Qatar. The Vice President Delcy Rodriguez denounced the U.S. military threats against Venezuela and the Caribbean region and emphasized that its objective was to appropriate the rich natural resources of the Bolivarian nation.
I want to take this opportunity to denounce the war threat by the United States against Venezuela and the Caribbean countries. They want to steal our hydrocarbon, oil, and gas resources, but they also intend, and I would like to take this opportunity to point this out, to disrupt the agreements that Venezuela has, the gas agreements with the Caribbean.
Additionally, Rodriguez emphasized the importance of developing the energy and gas sectors to satisfy the increased demand that will result from population growth in the coming years.
Economic and population growth will drive energy demand, and it is estimated that by 2040, 70% of energy demand will originate in the global south. Similarly, the world population is expected to grow by more than 500 million people by 2050, primarily in developing countries, where it will grow at twice the rate of developed countries. Likewise, the gas demand will grow by more than 60% by 2040, with China, India, and the rest of Asia driving the growth in demand.
China, India y el resto del Asia, allí estará el crecimiento de la demanda.
And we continue in Venezuela because on Wednesday, President Nicolás Maduro assured that the country has a professional air defense force ready to guarantee peace throughout the national territory. Let's hear.
Military technology and innovation made in Venezuela. Good news. You see some mortars. Repaired, improved, and expanded by Venezuelan minds, professionals, and military scientists from Venezuela. Anti-drones, I won't say anymore, we are showing just the tip of the iceberg. The IGLAS to teach the launching of IGLAS, and that's not all. It's one of the most powerful weapons there is, any military force in the world. General Padrino, General Mañares, General Helio, Commander of the Army, Commander of the Zodi of Caracas, Figueroa Valdez. Everyone knows it, every military force in the world knows the power of IGLAS, and Venezuela has no less than 5,000. IGLAS in key anti-air defense positions to guarantee peace, stability, and tranquility for our people, more than 5,000 of them, and the ranch on fire. Those who understood.
And we continue on topic because Venezuela activated the National Coastal Defense Exercises as part of its Independence 200 plan in response to the United States military deployment in the Caribbean Sea that threatens the nation's sovereignty. A joint effort involving civilians, the military, and the police began with the defense exercises in the coastal areas of La Guaira, Anzoátegui, and Miranda. The main purpose of the action was to guarantee the capacity to respond to any aggression that threatens the country's territorial peace. The Independence 200 plan ensures the protection of constitutional rights that guarantee the free movement of citizens who are committed and willing to defend their homeland.
Here we are in perfect union with the people, the military and the police in this special exercise that allows us to strengthen the defense of our coast in eastern Venezuela and, in particular, here in the state of Anzoátegui. From the municipalities of Peñalver, Bolívar, Urbaneja, Sotillo and Guanta in this Moshima National Park, this exercise demonstrates our strength, our capacity and, most importantly, our absolute will and determination to protect our national territory, our independence and our sovereignty.
Nuestro territorio nacional, nuestra independencia y nuestra soberanía.
And also in Venezuela, the International Anti-Fascist Forum concluded after a day of debate, bringing together 52 delegations from various countries around the world. The meeting served as a platform for global unity in rejecting the escalation of U.S. military threats in the Caribbean region. During his speech, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil denounced Washington's recent mobilization of naval and air assets, describing it as a violation of international law. In this regard, he stated that these maneuvers of interference will not prevail against the people that has decided to be free. And now we have a short break coming up, but first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. We continue with more information. In Honduras, Councilor Marlon Ochoa reported to the Public Prosecutor's Office plans to destabilize the country in connection with the electoral process on November 30th. Councilor Ochoa delivered a USB drive with 24 audio files. He claims they prove an organized plan to discredit the electoral process, create a crisis of legitimacy, and cause post-election unrest. Ochoa asked the Public Prosecutor's Office to investigate, identify, and sanction those responsible and protect the integrity of the electoral process. In addition, he warned that the Electoral Council results transmission system, which depends on private channels and multinational companies, represents a vulnerable point that could be exploited to manipulate or interrupt the transmission of records on Election Day.
Dear Attorney General of the Republic, I, Marlon Ochoa, hereby appear before you to file a complaint and inform the Public Prosecutor's Office of facts that, to the best of my knowledge and understanding, constitute conduct criminalized under the criminal and electoral laws of the Republic of Honduras, and pose a serious and imminent threat to the Republic order, democratic stability, constitutional order, and the integrity of the 2025 general election process. My complaint is based on information and audio material that I am obliged to transmit to the competent authorities so that it may be subjected to a rigorous investigation.
In Peru, the Congress of the Republic granted a vote of confidence to the new ministerial cabinet led by Ernesto Álvarez Miranda after a session lasting more than 3 hours. The plenary session was approved with 79 votes in favor, 15 against, and 5 abstentions, providing the necessary support for the Council of Ministers to begin its work. Amid difficult circumstances marked by insecurity and violence that affected the daily lives of millions of citizens. In this regard, Alvarez stated that he will promote the fight against organized crime, and it will be the central focus of his cabinet. And we go now to Panama, as the workers at the Interoceanic Canal have denounced that the administration is taking illegal and arbitrary action regarding their wages. Captains and tugboat officers denounced the company is using a ruling to retroactively reverse salary increases from when the collective agreement was in force. The workers are complaining about the imposition of undue sanctions, the change in working conditions without proper procedure, and the discrepancy between the administration's salary increase and the proposal for the workers. Lawyers describe these practices as illegal and arbitrary. However, they emphasize that the problem is not the ruling itself, but rather the interpretation being made by the canal's administration. Brazil and Indonesia are strengthening cooperation ties during an official visit to the Southeast Asian nation from President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva. Lula arrived in Jakarta earlier on Thursday and was welcomed by his Indonesian counterpart Prabowo Subianto at the presidential palace. The leaders witnessed the signing of several cooperation agreements on oil, gas, electricity, technology, mining, and agriculture. In this context, Subianto expressed that both countries were working to establish a free trade deal between his country and the South American bloc Mercosur, while Lula emphasized joint cooperation efforts need to ensure the increase in trade between both nations. Brazil is one of Indonesia's main trading partners in Latin America, as the Southeast Asian nation is looking to bolster ties in the region.
We are both members of BRICS. We are also members of G20. So we want to improve. Today we are witnessing significant economic cooperation, which is mutually beneficial, with a potential value of up to $5 billion, which we have just signed. I believe that the people of Indonesia and Brazil deserve that we make the greatest sacrifice to ensure that trade between Indonesia and Brazil grows in line with the growth of our population. That is why we will make a great effort to work hard so that Indonesia and Brazil become two key partners in the economic geography of the world.
We have a second short break coming up now, but before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverages, and much more. Follow the page and activate notifications to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Bye. Break. Don't go away. Welcome back from the South. We continue with more information. The U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced on Wednesday new sanctions against the major Russian oil companies Rosneft and Lukoil. The decision comes after President Donald Trump suspended a meeting in Budapest with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin on the grounds of alleged lack of progress in the solution of the conflict in Ukraine. The measures are in addition to the 19th package of sanctions already imposed on the Eurasian nation and include the freezing of assets and interests of both companies in the U.S. territory, the prohibition of transactions with U.S. nationals and entities, and their exclusion from the U.S. financial system. And in this context, on Thursday, the Chinese government expressed its strong rejection to these measures after the European Union also announced a new package of sanctions against Russian companies and its trading partners. Precisely during a press briefing, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Jiankun denounced the actions by both the U.S. government and the European bloc, stating Washington has no basis in international law and the action is not authorized by the UN Security Council. Moreover, addressing European sanctions on Chinese companies that trade with Moscow, he asserted that the bloc is in no position to criticize the normal interaction and cooperation between both countries' enterprises. In this regard, the Chinese official encouraged dialogue and negotiation, warning that coercion and pressure will not solve the problem.
China has always opposed unilateral sanctions that have no basis in international law or authorization from the UN Security Council. Most countries, including those in Europe and the United States, maintain trade relations with Russia. The EU is in no position to criticize the normal interactions and cooperation between Chinese and Russian enterprises. We urge the EU to stop making an issue of China and undermining China's interests, which is detrimental to the sound and stable development of China-EU relations. China will take all necessary measures to resolutely safeguard its legitimate rights and interests.
We go now to the Middle East, as in Jordan, a group of 12 children from the Gaza Strip have arrived to receive medical treatment. The minors landed in Amman on Thursday with 38 family members who will accompany them during their professional medical care in local public and private hospitals. Health authorities reported that once their treatment is complete, the patients and their families will be sent back to Gaza, allowing access for another group of Gazan children in need of care. This evacuation is the third under the Gaza Corridor initiative announced in February, as the country is ready to receive up to 2,000 Palestinian children. In other news, the Independent High Electoral Commission of Iraq, the IHEC, and a delegation of experts from the European Union held a meeting to coordinate and discuss mechanisms to support the upcoming electoral process. The chairman of the IHEC Board of Commissioners, Omar Ahmed, received the European Union delegation to coordinate actions aimed to ensure transparent and fair elections. The European Union delegates praised the organizational and administrative efforts made by the electoral body during the preparation of the legislative elections scheduled for November 11th. The High Electoral Commission officially approved more than 7,768 candidates who will compete for a total of 329 seats in the House of Representatives. In France, at least 18 departments are on orange alert due to the impact of Storm Benjamin, which has been battering the country since Thursday morning. Meteo France issued a second-level alert for the western, northern, central, and southern departments due to adverse weather conditions that will affect nearly the entire country. In the scenario, official reports forecast that winds could reach 130 kilometers per hour, although the level of precipitations is still unclear. Several train lines have temporarily suspended operations as a precautionary measure, and more than 100,000 homes are reportedly without electricity. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, my name is Venezuelan VP. Thank you for watching.